You better have a great presentation because he's watching.
Oh no, it's tough audience. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي رب زدني علما. So for the third session, it's going to be on the topic of loneliness. And before we start talking about loneliness, let's just quickly draw a distinction between loneliness and solitude. So at least the way I understand it, well, solitude is voluntary. That's something you take on yourself. You can't help your loneliness. That's something you feel. And then also loneliness doesn't even have to happen when you're physically alone. You could feel loneliness a lot of different settings. So I think at this point, it's important to ask ourselves the question, started asking myself that, do I in my life feel lonely? Or do we as people, as humans in the 21st century, because that's what we're living with, do we feel lonely?
Yeah. So I guess maybe we can talk about a few versions of loneliness that we see here and there, so that, as was done in the previous two sessions, is a relevant problem for us. When we were picking up the topic, this was one of the three major topics that people consider to be the most relevant. But do I feel lonely? So I guess in general, even before going anywhere, let's go with a little bit with the pop culture. So a few years ago, it was that the Ministry of Loneliness was established in Britain, so that it became such a problem at the global scale of a country that they established this Ministry of Loneliness. Like there's Ministry of Family, for example, or there's the Ministry of Defense. Now there's this Ministry of Loneliness. So it looks like it's at the societal level, it's a problem, at least for Britain. But personal life, how do I feel it? How do we feel it? So I guess more so how I look at it is because since it's clear and evident that time to time I feel lonely or alone, and how do I try to cover it up is just appearing, which might give a sense of my loneliness, because sometimes even we don't want to name it, but if I look at what I am doing, how I am avoiding boredom, I would say, it's a sign of loneliness in this case. Like if, for example, I am spending, which we can check from our phones, 1 hour, 1.5 hours on social media, what does this tell about me? Because what am I trying to achieve by scrolling social media? What do you think?
And just to give a more personal example, it doesn't even have to be for some person who doesn't use a lot of social media. Whatever you do, whatever activity you do, question yourself. I should be questioning myself why I do it. For example, spending 2 hours in the gym every single day. Now that doesn't even have to be a bad thing in and of itself, but I have to question, why do I do it? Or society recommends, people, this is the general expectation of how to live a healthy, balanced, moderate life. You need to have a social life. You need to be get a job. So even after doing all these things, my time is being filled, but at the same time, I still do feel this gaping void. So it's not I'm still feeling dissatisfied. It's still there. So even though I'm trying to fight the boredom, and it does momentarily disappear, but as soon as I'm not doing something to occupy myself, it reappears.
Mm-hmm. And it might help to identify different types of it. So one of them could be I have some friends, let's say, but maybe they die, or I have parents, but now they are overseas. So I am away and I am feeling lacking of them. And I'm trying to fill this up by finding other friends within where I live. But definitely I'm feeling alone of my friends. This is one type. Or it could even be that you have a pet and your pet dies. So you develop this sense of togetherness with your pet, and now it's away. So you feel alone. And of course, human cannot live in the vacuum. So we try to fill it up with something else. Otherwise, human is meant to be together with someone. But I guess these are just a few types of common loneliness that I'm sure these are not the only ones.
On a similar note, so you talked about friends. There's a different type of loneliness that you do experience even when you're with your friends.
Your mic.
Oh, sorry. So you spoke about friends. So there's a different kind of loneliness that you experience even when you're within a group of friends. So like quoting a personal example, this happens time to time. Like during a conversation, you do zone out a bit, and then you realize like all of this, for at least sometimes, to me, it seems very meaningless. Like it's like I don't have, even though I'm here in the moment, I don't have this moment with me, or it's always slipping away. So even when I'm surrounded by friends, I still feel lonely. And then this
So
is
I
a
guess
person.
is this more like you're not being understood from them?
Yes. So yeah. So you feel like you're not really forming a meaningful connection with anyone. So I personally, a friend was talking to me about his experience of loneliness. And then he ended up going to a therapist. And his problem was, he says, like, I always feel trapped in my friends group. It's like, I don't connect to anyone. And then the therapist was obviously like, you find a new activity or get a hobby and find a new group of friends. And he's like, I just went out for looking for a new hobby and I picked up a new sport and made a new group of friends. But then eventually after some time, I had the same feeling again. So it's like, it doesn't remedy the problem. It's still there.
Yeah. So I guess in this case, it's still you have friends around you, but still you're feeling alone from them. But maybe a different type of loneliness could be, which happens more as we start aging, the things that I leave behind. Like you might have heard this from me before, but age 30 was this sort of a shaking experience for me. This was the fall of my age 30 was a different age, like different fall, because now a whole summer was left behind, leaves were falling, and it was reminding me of me also leaving and getting old. Something of me was being left behind. So my young age was left behind, and I was alone, becoming alone of my young age, because it was a reminder of death. So death is not only death of a friend, death of a family member, or death of a pet, but I'm starting to feel like everything is dying, really. And this age 30 was a turnaround for that, because this is when I first start feeling like the strength that I once had in my body or sharpness of my memory, these things start fading. So still, there's this sense of I within me, so it stays with me, but everything else is falling apart, leaving me alone in this sense. So this is how, as the life progresses, human becomes more and more alone, because you get to know many people and now they're away. You get to know many friends, you get to know environments. They have been part of you, part of your life up to a certain point, but now they are away. Like, for example, now I am at Philadelphia. I have seen many cities, many friends. They're all left behind. Still, I am here, but only a group of people is now with me, a bunch of friends, a bunch of buildings that I go for work, home, and whatnot, but all the rest is gone. They're in the past. So I am alone in this sense, even in a larger scale. And human tends to realize this as we start aging. In young ages, it's more like you're trying to, as you were mentioning, if I got bored here, let me try to remedy it with another one. But as you keep repeating the same thing and repetitively you start failing, you get even tired of making more friends, because every new thing that you bring into your life will leave you alone at some point as well. So this repetitive pattern even starts making you get tired.
So what you're pointing out sounds like a lot like existential loneliness. And like you do say, like it happens, like becomes more real for you after you cross 30. But I think even right now, I'm not 30 yet. So, but for me, I do experience that on a more day-to-day basis. And everyone feels that on a more day-to-day basis. Like every day you get to know a new day and then it's gone. And how Birkan was talking about like pleasures in the first session. And he's like, you want to hold on to the good things, but then they also go. So everything is constantly departing. Just like it's a consistent existential loneliness that I'm always experiencing.
Yeah. So I guess we can, although we talked about different types of lonelinesses, maybe we can summarize them
So just this,
Yeah, maybe we can classify them into some clusters so that we are going to have a more structured conversation. So the types of lonelinesses that we discussed or were mentioning, and if you have any other unique loneliness you would like to share with, we'll be happy to hear. Like, I guess when we say loneliness, the first thing that comes to mind is loneliness from human companions. I had some friends, I had family members which are far away. But then the second one that comes, there are a lot of people around you, but you are still feeling alone. Maybe you have a lot of friends in the college, or you have a lot of friends in the work environment, but you do not connect to them. It is just high level of thing. Or even you might be sharing the same environment of, let's say, joy, same polo team. Like still, that connection is not there. You said, oh, he's my job, a friend from work. Actually, this was one of my students came. They come to my office as triplets always. But he was saying that, oh, the other two, they are my homework friends. So they never come to the club with me. So he cannot relate to them when it comes to other stuff. So you are feeling alone among crowds. And there's a special case of this one, which I think also should be covered. And we will try to cover that as we get closer to the end. But being a Muslim in a Western society, being a minority and feeling left out is another type of loneliness. And it's not too, it's not categorically different, but still it has a different and more relevant taste to the audience here, I believe. And then the third one, as you were mentioning, is existential loneliness that starts growing initially, because it's a very mouthful, like existential, existence. It sounds very philosophical. But what we mean by that is like just the very fact that I do happen to be here, I taste a moment, I live a moment, meaning I exist, I am living, because it's a momentary thing, it passes away. So this existential loneliness, irrespective of the thing that leaves me alone, being a human, an animal, a society, even the day as the sun sets is now in the past. It left me alone here.
so just to summarize what you just said, I see a common, like a fundamental pattern here. So every type of loneliness is basically, at its most fundamental, just a form of separation. So we can say, if I were to sum it up, basically, as we described, existential loneliness, driving from like the most fundamental level of separation, and like from starting from every moment, every second, then you can keep going on to bigger, more important things. So basically, we can sum up that essentially, did I go up twice? So if you sum it up, basically, there is only one kind of loneliness, which is existential loneliness. So loneliness among crowds or loneliness from human companions is basically just like a subset of existential loneliness.
Yeah. Because the gist of all of them are the same. I do exist. Exist meaning I do experience something, and then this thing that I experience leaves me alone. It departs, we got separated from it, and the taste that is left behind is what we call as loneliness. And we don't like it.
And as in the second session Abdurrahman was mentioning, so death, obviously there's a reality to death that it's in the end, but death in itself is also a form of separation. So like, I don't have to view death as just my physical body dying and going to the grave. A moment that leaves me is also a death of that moment. A day that passes is the death of the day. A friend that I'm no longer in contact with is the death of that friend for me. So, and then this reminds us of a verse from the Quran that we're going to study, which is, "Kullu nafsin zaiqatul maut, summa ilayhi turja'un." Every being shall taste death, then it is to us that you shall be sent back.
Yeah. And even so Zaiqatul Maut in here, the translation is making a little bit of an injustice to the verse. So it is more like defining everything and saying that everything is taster of death. Like as if saying that metal is hard. So I am describing what the nature of metal is. And now it is describing the nature of every being, and saying that every being is a dyer. It's going to die. It's tasting death, meaning it's designed to die. And this nafs in here is sometimes translated as every being, every human being, every soul, but it doesn't necessarily need to be taken as a living creature with a life, but anything is dying. And is it not the case, for example, even a piece of metal is going to get oxidized. Like maybe you have seen those ancient swords. At some point, they were very shiny, beautiful swords, but now they are a piece of rotten metal, rusted metal, right? So everything is dying. Even the stars are dying. Like we have black holes. Human is dying. Day is dying. Everything is dying, and it's supposed to be as such. The Creator is saying that, isn't this how it is? Don't you see that? And I say, yes, I agree. Everything is dying. And as a response, إِلَيْنَا تُرْجَعُونَ, and to us is your return, is an interesting way of putting it, as if saying that this death is for a purpose. There's a return. Death is so that you're going to see the return. So, and I think in this case, this pattern has something to do with our loneliness.
So just to tie it back to loneliness, which means, so loneliness, as we said, is ultimately based fundamentally due to separation. And as we defined separation as a kind of death in itself, so loneliness basically is due to this constant death that I'm experiencing, and that I can confirm, and that which confirms the words, which is kullu nafsin zaikatul maut, that I am constantly tasting, or I am meant to taste this death continuously.
Yeah. And this starts growing on you at some point, because let's say children, this happens with children a lot. They start playing, they enjoy, and then you say, well, it's time to go home. Then they start crying because they don't want this game to come to an end, right? So it's very painful. So if you keep repeating this, let's say you let the child start playing, just the child start focusing on the game, say, it's over, we are going home. There's a cry. You do the same next day, you do the same next day. What would the child say for the fourth day? I don't want to go to their house, because it always ends with a cry. I mean, it's good, we play for a few hours, but then the separation is growing so much that I don't want to take that. Or even, I guess in one of the recent discussions, we were having this more dramatic example, right? It was like this. So let's say there's a family, and family is having their child. Very nice, cute 2 years of life. And then child passes away. Very sad. That separation is very sad. And then Allah blesses them with a second child. Very beautiful 2 years, cute, nice. The second child passes away. Third time, the same thing happens. Would they attempt having a fourth child? Because the separation stays with them. But the joy of 2 years, it already went away. But the lack of child stays with them. So they become alone of the child, 3 children. Even they don't want to get into a fourth child, because joy was passing by. It doesn't stay, but the pain remains. This is the main issue with loneliness. You can generalize it to any joy in life. I do enjoy it for very temporary moments. Actually, since Aisha was giving the example like playing games, so Salih is here, I should give an example with playing games as well. I used to feel like this. So I play games in secondary school, high school, not afterward, for hours and hours. And then, and I don't notice how quickly the time is passing. But then I defeat enemies, and then I kill their headquarters, and everybody dies and whatnot. When I click on save, it was showing the time in there. So it was saying that 15 hours have passed. But then I realized that joy is not there anymore. Like there's this horrible taste was left behind in my mouth. Okay, it was fun for 15 hours, but now the 15 hours evaporated, fun evaporated, and then there's this guilt of what did I do left with me. So joy left me alone at this moment, and it's an separation, it's a death. The joy is dead. It's gone. The only way to repeat it is I will replay the same game. But how many times do we play the same game, Sadi? It gets boring, right? So this is what it looks like in life as well. It happens that repeating of the joy even becomes a burden because I know that it's going to leave me alone as well. So it is an existential loneliness. Whatever enters my life is exiting and leaving me alone.
So I think at this point, let's just at least acknowledge or admit that it is real and I have it. And it's just something. And then I can also confirm by the same reasoning that we saw in the previous two sessions, it is not from me. I do not control it, because if it were up to me, it is constantly hurting me. I would just cut it off or just flip a switch and switch it off, but I can't. So it is being given to me. So then that naturally follows the question, who is giving it to me?
Yeah.
And then what does the giver want to teach me, or what am I supposed to learn through this? Like, what is the message of this loneliness?
Yeah. And it looks like there's no escape from that, right? As you said, I am meant to live it. And even the previous verse was saying that I put it there. The creator is saying that I put death in there. That's why we equated loneliness with death, because wherever Quran talks about death, and actually the verse that we showed, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ, it repeats 3 times in Quran, that same verse, the follow-up portions are different, but the beginning part is the same. So as it must be a big deal that my creator keeps repeating this to me. So exactly that becomes the question then. If there's no escape from that, if I am meant to feel that, then what is the point? What am I supposed to take out of that? And it's not that like I am experiencing it because I am a bad person, I am like a ghafil person. But even as Quran talks about prophets went through different flavors of loneliness as well. Right?
Yeah.
So just to remember a few quick examples. We'll get into details of those prophets, but just to say that we are not alone in that. Even the best of the humanity went through being alone. I guess we can at least go with, at the very basis, all the prophets that were killed by their people. So they were left out within their society.
And then for like more popular common examples is like, let's say Yunus alayhi salam experienced his own kind of loneliness. Ibrahim alayhi salam went through his own experience of loneliness, because let's just say his example is, I do not like things that set. So it's like he was constantly being disturbed by this taste of separation, death, that he was, when he first looked towards the sun, then the stars, then the moon. So he constantly had his experiences of his loneliness. So, and then that, at least when you read that story, you have to look at, or at least you get this desire to read a meaningful, try to get a meaning out of it, but it still hurts me. It is painful. So what is the message there?
Mm-hmm. So what sort of a message we can get out of that? Yes. So a nice example for this one was, let's say, since it's death, because we are trying to make sense of death. So like there's a flowing river. And in a nice day, you sit before the river, sun is there, and then reflections over the river, there are bubbles as the water is going up and down. There are a lot of bubbles over the river. And it makes a nice scene, because in all of those bubbles, you see very beautiful glittering suns. But as you keep staring at it, you realize that all those bubbles burst and the sun disappear. The small glittering suns that you observe there keeps disappearing. So if I tend to think that, yes, I did enjoy this sun for a second, but then it went away, it gives me this anxiety. And this is how life is, right? Again, I'm going to, since there are new people here also, I'm going to tell you a little bit of horrible story. When I was a small child, at around age 6-ish, we had this, banana was expensive in our country, but my father used to buy bananas, small bananas, me and my sister, and this is age 6, 7, so we are not that much articulate to think about stuff, right? So banana is small, but it is tasty but expensive. So we were just taking the banana in our mouth, and just keep chewing it and chewing it and chewing it back and forth. I don't want to swallow the banana. Because as a child, I mean, you do not articulate this, right? It's purely emotional, purely feelings. Because if I swallow the banana, joy will disappear. And I'm just trying to elongate it. But no matter how much I elongate it, still I have to swallow it and it disappears. And it was hurting. So what does this tell? If again, we go with the river, like this was one of the bubbles that's over the river, because river is really the river of time. This was one of the bubbles over that river, and there was a reflection that I really liked a lot, which is the taste of banana. But it was bursting. And as a small child, I didn't want it to burst immediately. I was just trying to stretch it as much as possible, like not 1 second, but 3 seconds. Still, it goes away. And it is bad because my father is not super rich. Even if he was super rich, eventually I will get bored of banana. So this is the reality of life. So, but the truth is, somebody comes and said, if somebody to come and tell me that when I stare at this river and start being super upset or even start crying, why those glitters are dying, somebody will come to me and say that, well, these are not real suns. You think that they are the reality itself? It is just a reflection of the sun up in there. Look, it keeps happening, right? Because there was a bubble, it bursts, but the next bubble still has it. So what does this tell you? It tells you that the glittering light do not belong to the bubble itself. Actually, the glittering light was belonging to a sun which was reflecting through that bubble. So the death or the burst of this bubble, the death of this glittering light was a wake-up call, because it dies, but the next one still has it. This should tell me that, oh, raise your head. Do not get stuck with the bubble itself. Do not get stuck with the taste of the banana. You devoured the banana, it died, but the next banana is being given with the same taste. So the question is, there must be a never-ending, never-dying source of that taste, and it's not the banana itself.
So then it looks like by the virtue of our creation, death and separation is there. But the same death could be the means of turning my face towards the true source, not the reflection of the sun in the bubble, but actually turn and face to the sun.
Yeah.
So as Imam Nursi uses this beautiful phrase, that the remedy is within the melody. So the pain of separation, the bursting bubble, then becomes the reason why you turn towards the source. So then it naturally follows that I should seek the source or find my one true friend from whom I should not be separated. I will not be separated. So then a practical question that follows is, then how do I find this source and how do I befriend the source?
Yeah. So yeah, this is what we should be really focusing on. But before getting there, just to underline this a little more. So, because that was a very important point. Remedy is within the melody itself. So because the loneliness was my trouble, death was my trouble, and I was trying to cover it up by making other friends. I was just increasing my problem. But because this was the source of the problem and I'm just increasing more separation. It would be even better, just do not taste anything further, as was the case of the people after 3 children who died at age 2. They shouldn't have the 4th child. They cannot handle it, right? So if, as I keep experiencing joys in life and it backfires on me, the most logical attitude would be to no more taste in my life. But of course, it doesn't work either. But how do I fix this? Yes, exactly. The problem is given so that I realized where the issue is, meaning if you are disturbed, if I am disturbed of my loneliness, I should focus on what is it that I'm disturbed about here. I am disturbed about death. Is the thing dying really? That should be the question. So raising my head to the sun in the metaphor. Likewise, let's say I like a friend. Let's make it practical. I like my friend Zarar. We have very nice friendship, but then he goes to California or he dies, God forbid. But something nice, something that I enjoyed is not burst. So, of course, it gives me this feeling of like burning feelings. Sometimes we call it like after days of his death, I'm going to be super sorry. For the next 3 months, I'm going to be shocked and whatnot. But I should be asking the question, why am I disturbed about this? Rather than trying to avoid it, because this is how it happens, right? If somebody dies, how do people try to solve it? They said, okay, your father died. Oh, let's go and go to movies. Like we are trying to distract your attention. But rather, I should be focusing on the problem itself. This is the very thing that disturbs me. So let me try to figure out why it is disturbing me. It was disturbing me because I thought that the beautiful thing I observed in you, let's say it's the beautiful company, it belongs to you. And now that you died or you went away, that beautiful thing disappeared. I was not seeing it as coming from or being given to you. This is the thing that we need to be convinced about. I mean, today, of course, everybody in here, we are religious and whatnot. We assume that everybody gets this point. But honestly, we need to question this. Is your merciful mother, which you love so much, does the mercy belong to your mother? Isn't this why we are feeling sad when mother passes away? Because there was this mercy I used to experience by being together with my mom, and now my mom passed away. So I am lacking this mercy. This is why I'm disturbed. I should ask this question. Why am I being disturbed if mom passes away? Because, I mean, there might be more, but I'm just simplifying it. Mom was how I used to taste mercy. Now that mom is not there, I'm not able to taste mercy. This is what bothers me, right? But then I need to ask the question, was my mom the source of that mercy? Is mercy dead? My mom is dead, but is mercy dead? That's the question to be asked. Because practically speaking, I need to lift my head and look at the sun. But in fact, in practical life, when mother dies, what is the sun that I'm going to turn my head towards? Where would this answer come from?
So that becomes, that's a wonderful point, actually. So when you said that my mother I experienced mercy through my mother, and now that my mother is dead, so I think there's another question that you should be asking, do I stop experiencing that mercy? Or let's just to give an example or to relate, this feels like I want to use the word cut off from you, because you're cut off from your mother, but does that being cut off from your mother also cut you off from the mercy? So, and then I think the question that actually follows is, so what is the remedy, at least, what is the solution how do I at least still identify that there is, or get to know whether the mercy has actually been cut off or not? So what do I look to realize that the mercy, my mother wasn't the source, that the mercy is still there?
Yeah, actually, now that you use the word cut off, let's go in that direction, because Quran is offering remedy to that problem. And let's go with Prophet ﷺ's case. Let's start from there. So Prophet was being left alone in multiple ways. He was named like his people. This is Surah Al-Kawthar. So everybody knows the 3 verses, the shortest surah, the most repeated surah in our prayers, in our quick prayers, right? So they say the Asbab al-Nuzul, the reason of this revelation of this surah is like people of Quraysh was troubled with the message of the Prophet, ﷺ, but then they were trying to stop him. Some of them came and said, the elders of Mecca said, forget about him. Like, he is even cast out, cut off from within his clan. They don't take him serious. And also, he doesn't have any offspring. He is cut off. So his message will die away anyways. Just let him be. Nobody cares about him. So that's why the surah finishes with a cut off, al-abtar. And so this surah has been a remedy for how Prophet was, who was being left alone within his society, has been a remedy. But how does it remedy his problems?
So let's just first see what's happening here. So what I assume, like connection from the mother's example, is when I was cut off from my mother, my assumption, or at least what I feel, is I've been cut off from the source of mercy. That not source of mercy, I've been cut off. I don't see mercy any longer. So, but what this surah is presenting is a very flip picture altogether. Even though, let's just say, take the tradition of when Prophet son Ibrahim alayhi salam passed away. So when he's been cut off, when Quran is actually presenting an absolutely flip picture altogether. The Quran says, we've already granted you Kawthar, inna atainaka al-Kawthar, fasalli li rabbika wanhar, inna shanika wal. It is your enemies, even though they had sons, they were boastful. It is they who are actually cut off. So it is presenting an absolutely flip picture altogether.
Yeah. So in such an environment, because this, as I guess Sister Aisha was saying, for Quran to be a remedy to me, I should be troubled. Like, food is served to the hungry. Otherwise, the person wouldn't appreciate the food, right? Let's try to put ourselves in here. This message is coming to someone who feels alone, who feels being cast out, left out. But surah, by starting with Inna a'atayna kal kawthar, it's starting with an assurance, as if saying that indeed it's just opposite. We have given you al-Kawthar. So as we were discussing this in our Tuesday discussions here, so I very quickly summarize it in a nutshell. So what is Kawthar in this case? So the word itself is coming from kathir, like bountiful, a lot. This is one aspect of it. But let's see, am I given a lot? Because my Creator is now telling me that you are given a lot. Am I given a lot? Just count the things that are given to you. I guess I can start counting with my hair, because there are some people, is he here, without hair? So these are being given to me. If I didn't have them, I will go to like some doctor to put, like, this is even this is becoming an issue, right? Once you have it, you don't realize it. But once it starts falling off, you start trying to, like Trump does, make this long so that, right? Even the hair is being given to me. And it's not given to me once upon a time. Like, it's growing every day. My nails, my skin, my feelings. I am given eye, but also I am given sight. Because it happens that you have eye, but then either you're getting sick, you're starting to see blurry and whatnot. You're being given sight. I'm given hearing. You count. It's not only that I am given friends. Like, I am given Abdurrahman, and Abdurrahman is given hair. Like, if Abdurrahman's hair were falling, I would feel sorry for Abdurrahman. Abdurrahman is given, and Abdurrahman is given hairs as well. So his gift becomes my gift. And he is being given. So Kawthar is, as Prophet, there are also hadith narrations, Kawthar is a river in the paradise. So what does it mean, a river in paradise? It's a river which never ends. It keeps running and running. Am I given a river? I mean, of course, we can read it as it speaks to the Prophet, but this also speaks to me. So I'm trying to read it as it speaks to me. There's that river that keeps flowing. See, this is the river that's still coming out. All the body, my friends, the air, the sun, everything is being given to me constantly. So who is alone? My Creator is saying that I keep flowing that river in front of you, and I have been flowing that river for how many years? You have seen that it kept flowing there. And again, if we go back to our river example, it says, yes, one of them bursts, but I keep sending another bubble on which you still see the reflection. So yes, I had a hair which fell off, another hair came. So my Creator is saying that I keep giving you this never-ending bounties. Where is this coming from? Because somebody, like, think of it this way, we take it granted so much. Water is in the pipe, like you open it, it's always there. We do not even recognize how much of a gift it is, right? If you go to some villages in a third world country where you need to walk to the well, you will appreciate this water from the tap a lot more, right? Rain is being sent to me. Imagine air which comes to your nose. What's supposed to be given to your nose with a pipe or something? Have you ever felt thankful? Like, this river has been there. The river of air has been there and still is there. So who is maintaining this? Who is taking care of that? My Creator is saying that indeed we have given you this river. It's always there. And I only counted the physical gifts that are given to me. The very fact that I can say I, like I exist, the conscious, being conscious, is there the most valuable gift that I am given at the core of all of these? This is being given to me. Somebody is providing with that. What sort of a loneliness am I talking about then?
So what you just summarized sounds very nice and very beautiful, but it's also a little abstract. Now, I can misread this and think like I've already been given everything, and I can just go close my eyes, sit in a cave and achieve this state of nirvana. But that's not what the Prophet did. He still had human friends. He still had wives. And if I do this, I know I am still going to have this craving for like a human companion. So then how do I go about this and make this practical for myself?
So we'll do that. But in order to arrive there, I need to convince myself about something. Like Prophet was given friends, given human companions. He had Abu Bakr, Umar, Osman, Ali, right? He had their beautiful children, wives, and everything. But it comes with فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْهَرْ. So once I realize that I am being given this gift of river, of all these bounties that keeps flowing, my Creator is inviting me to reciprocate. Because what's happening in here is a flowing river of gifts means I have been talking to you. I have been talking to you, the Creator is saying. And then says, talk back to me. This is how I befriend the Creator. So in Quran, Ibrahim alayhi salam is mentioned as Khalilullah. Prophet alayhi salam is mentioned as Habibullah, not in Quran, but in narrations, right? These are the friends of the Creator. How do I befriend the Creator? This surah is inviting me to say that, yes, I have been talking to you. The whole creation was me talking to you. And now my Creator is inviting me to talk to him, saying that fasalli. So salli in this case is, for the sake of simplicity, let's take it as keep salat. And salat is, I have this conviction, I get to know my Creator. And in my Creator, what do I say? As was mentioned in the previous sections, I say, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. This is how we start. I speak to my Creator, and then Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Malik Yawmiddin. But then I ask from him, Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in, about my needs, right? So, fasalli, my Creator is saying that then come back to me, befriend me. I am ready, I am already there 24/7, because the mere fact that you exist testifies that you are being given life, and I am the one who give you that. So come back to me. And there's also interesting فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْهَرْ. So wanhar is sacrifice. Sacrifice is also interesting because this, when we talk about sacrifice, the first thing that comes to mind is Ibrahim alayhi salam sacrificing his own son, which is also interesting because Ibrahim alayhi salam was asking for a human companion. Allah gave him his son, and then Allah asked him to sacrifice his son as well, which is a very interesting message in there. What does the sacrifice mean? If I start taking it as source of my joy, that human friend, human companion, which is my son, the Creator is saying that cut off that tie. If I start seeing you as the source of my good feelings, or in the case of Ibrahim alayhi salam's story, his son was there, and as Quran puts it, then the son came to the age of doing jobs together with his father. Now you talk, son responds back, you start seeing that a fruitful conversation is starting to happen. This is how you start enjoying togetherness, right? This is the time, Quran says, the Creator says, go and sacrifice your son. And in here says, wanhar. So actually, Quran is inviting me to cut off that relationship. But does this practically mean go and kill your friends or do not befriend anyone? No, tie the connection, taking it personal.
or it's my son who is making me satisfied. It's my mother who provides me mercy. So cut off that relationship and realize that it's the merciful one manifesting in your mother. It is the knowledgeable one, the provider who is manifesting on your son. Because your son will grow, he's going to get into adolescence, and he's going to become this like unpleasant adolescent, right? We have adolescents here. Okay, so the creator is even showing that, creating this phase of life in people where they're becoming like rebellious a little bit. This is not by choice either. Like everybody went through that in their lives, right? Except you. So being a little bit rebellious towards parents, this has two aspects. There is a role of this for the child, but there's a role of this towards the parent. The parent who started enjoying the child so much, and now the creator is giving this rebellious feelings to the child, to tell the parent that you thought that this was the source of your nice, beautiful thingy, then take it. So this is an opportunity where I am being invited to cut off. And then let's take it to the last verse that you said, Inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. Indeed, your enemy is the one cut off. Because the one, if you look at it today, if you want to be permanent, get a good 401k, make a good investment, or also have a few child who is going to take over what you leave behind. Like these are, if you take as today's common sense of how to survive. But the verse is saying that that attitude is being cut off. That attitude is prone to be alone because it is trying to freeze the existence. But the existence is not frozen. It's a flowing river because the source is not there. So as you were saying, the ones who were back then even criticizing Prophet or mocking Prophet, saying that he is cut off, they were the ones cut off because their world was only this world, which is passing by, and in the lack of a conviction about the source, you are doomed to suffer.
So just to summarize, I'm going to ask a clarifying question. So I do have this need for a human companion, and Ibrahim alayhi salam prayed for a son to carry on his mission, of course, and then God gives him the son, and he asks then to say one had sacrifice it. So, but then what is my need for a human companion teaching me? Okay, so you could summarize it.
Yeah. So despite everything, still I am in need of companion. Like even despite anything, still I need to eat this banana. Like if I'm going to take it in the example of banana, I said that okay, creator is the creator of joy and everything. How do I get the joy next time? The creator says you have to eat the banana. There's no escape from that. I am in need of human companions, and I say, okay, I cut the relationship. I know that the mercy comes from my mother. How do you get mercy? Still, I have to have my mother, though. This is how the creation is happening. So, yes, I will be in need of having friends, human friends. This is why Musa alayhi salam asked for his brother to be given him as a helper. Zakaria alayhi salam was asking for a son who is going to take his message. Ibrahim alayhi salam asked for a friend, for a son. Musa alayhi salam had a companion of road as well, other like Yusha alayhi salam and whatnot. So Quran is mentioning them. So what is the utility of this then? Why? Okay, there's a wrong version of it, but there must exist a right version of it, of seeking friends as well. So let me start from banana again. Without banana, or without egg or chicken, whatever you eat, how would I know that my creator is a sustainer, provider? Because I say he is a sustainer because I eat chicken, because I eat banana. I say God is merciful because I see him providing me with mercy of my mother. I wouldn't know otherwise. What is it that I see in human companions then? What does a human companion that's properly become a friend, properly meaning becoming a mirror of my creator to me? Because if I start saying that, oh, he is a wise friend, if I say that wisdom belongs to him, it's going to be cut off. But if I say that through the wisdom I observe in there, I mean, look at this body, it's falling apart. This wisdom definitely doesn't belong to this body. It was not there before, it's not going to be there after. So if I start seeing this, wisdom, mercy, sometimes anger, sometimes being very soft, these are the things that we observe in human. So actually, banana is a mirror of the creator in 2-3 aspects, but human is a mirror of the creator in so many aspects. So I can get to know my creator in the mirror of a human much better. And this is why my creator put this inevitable need in me to befriend humans, but proper humans, so that I get to know my creator through them. And it will happen. I will make friends. That's why you need you have the need to like have a friend, get married, get children. Like these are as if you need to resist not to go in that direction. This is what you're meant to go in this. So as if you're hardwired to do all these. But as we mentioned, the wrong version of it is very painful. But the right version of it, befriending people, now let's use the religious term, for the sake of God. But what do we mean by for the sake of God? Through that relationship, I am going to get to know the merciful one, the wise one, the powerful one, who is my creator. I'm going to use Zarar as a mirror, and I'm not going to praise Zarar if we go back to the first session, but I'm going to praise, if there's wisdom I observe here, I would say, Alhamdulillah. I'm not going to praise Zarar for that wisdom here. I will say that the wisdom here must belong to the one who engineered the universe. It cannot belong to Zarar here. Then that friendship becomes a beautiful friendship. If Zarar disappears, wisdom does not die. Zarar might die, but wisdom will not die, because Zarar was just a bubble, maybe burst, but the reflection disappeared, not the sun itself disappeared.
So that is beautiful. And then when with that understanding, I read the last verse, Inna shaniyaka huwal abtar. Indeed, it is your enemy that is the one that is cut off. So who or what is my enemy that was causing me this pain? It is death and it is separation. So with that realization, what actually dies is the death and the separation. Because what was hurting me at the death of my mother was because now I think, or I was before this, I saw it as my mercy is being cut off. But now what I see is the feeling of being cut off itself is dying. So there is no more separation. It is actually, in true terms, being befriended with a never dying source.
Exactly.
Actually,
this is very beautiful, because in the world of believer, in practice, there is no death. In the sense of what we consider death to be. Death is annihilation and whatnot. In the world of believer, this death doesn't exist. Death then becomes just, oh, I was in this room, I'm going to the other room. Because death is just a wake-up call to say, okay, raise your head, look at the source. And then I will start living with, or I can start, since you mentioned the word existential loneliness, in the light of Surah Al-Kawthar, I'm going to be in existential togetherness of my creator. I would be existentially befriending my creator. And with that lens, actually, this plant over there would become my friend, like you would become my friend, or even any human being, let it be my enemy, would become my friend, although he is trying to kill me and whatnot. But from an existence point of view, he would become a friend. Even like Sufis have the stories like this. Sheikh and Murid were walking, and then they saw a dead dog's corpse. And then so Murid made a comment saying, oh, it's ugly and whatnot. And then the Sheikh said, look at the teeth, how it's beautifully reflecting sunlight in there. So nothing in this existence would become ugly to me, because it's going to become that part of the river. So death will die with this sense, separation will die, everything will die, actually.
One cruel question. Yes, very cool. So when I listened this, and I was listening with the Zoom, it sounds like, the first world problems, meaning like two rich people sitting there and talking about how we should understand all the wealth we have, right? But there are people out there like, I don't know, let's say Atik. He goes to home and he really doesn't have anybody to talk to. He goes to work and nobody likes him. Or even, the people like him in a college environment. For instance, this gentleman goes to the school, the college, 2 years after, right?
Well,
After 2 years, you go to college? Yeah. He goes to college and he realized that everybody is fighting to each other to get the best grade and nobody cares about each other. They talk to, about the games, maybe the soccer game they watch together and so on. But the rest, he's alone. And his mother, his mom cannot understand him either. His dad cannot understand because of the, the age difference and so on and so forth. So he's alone in a true sense, in a true physical sense, not like, this gentleman who has 35 friends. And then he's saying that, oh yeah, I need these friends, but to read my God and understand my creator. So is there any, connection? Because especially college environments, like people are really alone because they cannot talk to each other. I remember like a few years ago, almost maybe 5-10 years, I don't remember. Anyway, I was talking to a friend here.
You lost track of time because you are getting old.
Exactly.
Okay, good.
So we were sitting together eating something, and we are all grown ups, like 30s.
That means you're now 40. Go ahead.
Yes, exactly. At that time. And I started asking him about his family, and he was shocked in a bad way. Like I'm stepping over. He said, "Why are you asking me all these questions?" And this is the reality. So we have a real loneliness. How all these, relate to that? No, it wasn't. Because I know they will.
If you would like to give an answer,
Please go ahead.
So, yes, I think we do have this, we do feel this loneliness. And I think as we were trying to draw the picture, not having such a friend, and as if it keeps burning and burning you day in, day out, going through that keeps burning the human. And I think this is what Prophet must have gone through. And the response to this one coming from Creator is, I am your friend. After realizing this, the Creator gives you human friends as well. But I think Creator giving me human friends comes after this realization. At least in my life experience, this is how it goes. If I realize that, if I start to seek human friends just to remedy my loneliness without seeing them as the reflections or the mirrors of my Creator, Creator will give me nice friends and either will take them away from me or we will fight with that friend. It will never work. And this is a mercy of the Creator. It sounds like torture. He makes me meet a nice person and either the person dies or we fight or something. And I say, why you keep doing this to me, or my Creator, right? But if I reach that conclusion, saying that I am the only friend for you, your issue is trying to befriend others, despite knowing that those others are bound to get separated or die. So once I reach that realization, once I settle with my Creator as my friend, then the rest becomes easy. And actually, maybe at this moment, we can go to Yunus alayhi salam's story. Can we go to this one before? Okay, we owe something to Kadir later on. But
You want a question first?
let's go with this one. Okay. Yeah, well, I am holding him. You can talk
Okay.
about this one.
So let's just quickly go over the verse first and mention the man of the fish, that is Jonah. when he went off in anger and thought we would not decree anything upon him. And he called out within the darkness, there is no deity except you, exalted are you. Indeed, I have been of the wrongdoers. So we responded to him and saved him from distress, and thus do we save the believers. So before talking about the solution, the remedy in here, let's just sort of rephrase or remember what the problem actually was for Yunus alayhi salam and then try to make it relevant to our life. So Yunus alayhi salam, at least the way Quran represents, has experienced like possibly the greatest amount or the type of loneliness, kind of loneliness you can humanly experience. You're all alone at the bottom of the sea in the belly of a whale. It does not get any more lonely than that. And at that moment, what Hazrat Yunus alayhi salam said was, La ilaha illa anta subhanak inni kuntu minaz zalimin. So there is no deity except you, exalted are you. Indeed, I have been of the wrongdoers. And as the story goes, what happens after that is, the way Imam Nusi describes it, is the fish that was the main cause of his troubles becomes a submarine, a vessel for him that takes him to the ocean, and he makes him, as the verse says, so we responded to him and saved him, and thus we do save the believers.
And even if we go a little bit of a backstory, so Yunus alayhi salam was cast out of his people. He is making the invitation, but people do not understand him, do not listen to him, do not accept his message. So he was mentally alone. Like he was the teacher for them. He tells the truth to them, and he's a prophet. He must be doing his job well. Like the creator gives duty to the person who can handle the duty, right? So he is doing the duty at the best way, but people do not accept it, which happens, right? Like you're saying, the truth is truth. It's all those people are messed up. That's why they don't accept. So in this case, that realization is coming. The Yunus alayhi salam realization is La ilaha illa ant. There's no deity other than you. So as if there's this notion that, oh, although I was talking about this, I didn't understand it to that level. I used to think that Zarar is wise. I mean, wisdom partially belongs to Zarar. Giving deity to things partially at least. This had been my issue. I was trying to find this. I was attributing the light to the bubble itself. This is why you didn't make me befriend any one of them. None of them became my friends. So that to the very depth of this loneliness I fell, then I realized my mistake. La ilaha illa ant. Subhanak inni kuntu minaz zalimin portion is very important. I have been the wrongdoer. You didn't wrong me. There's this confession to the creator saying that you didn't wrong me by putting me in this lonely, horrible condition. Like as Brother Birkan was giving the example, in this day and age, the whole society is in this situation, but this is a response to what we are doing wrong. We started like the materialist worldview, which became the norm, is saying that no, the things, the qualities, the goodness belongs to the things themselves. As a society, we are considering the things to be having those values inherently. And as a response, the creator is saying that, then taste the loneliness that is a follow-up of this one. And Yunus alayhi salam, after reaching this realization, he is saved, and in the follow-up verses, he goes to his people and his people accepted. I think this could then be the answer to Birkan's question, irrespective of, because Yunus alayhi salam is ready to die. In the belly of the fish, this is his supplication. He's not saying that, oh Allah, save me from this belly of the fish. If I go there, I'm going to sacrifice 40 camels. I'm going to become a good. He doesn't say any of these. He says, indeed, I have been the wrongdoers. That realization changes everything for him. He was not expecting people to believe him after here. But after this realization, he was saved, his life was saved, and he was even given people who become friends of him. So to practically then go back to Birkan's question, do I reach that realization that I wronged myself? I give divine properties, attributes to things themselves. Hence, I am alone. Let me first fix that. And then my creator, he does give friends. Even if he gives, he doesn't give. That's not the point, though. The main point is to realize my mistake.
So just to sum it up and then ask a follow-up question. So in the example that Birkan gave, that the person is still very lonely and has troubles at home or whatever, and you're saying his troubles do not arise from the fact, so his troubles aren't being caused by all these sort of like apparent causes that we see. Like what he feels inside isn't being controlled by not having friends or not having a meaningful connection. It is because this part of La ilaha illa, he was seeking ilah in something else. So the moment he realizes La ilaha illa anta, that in itself is. So after that, you may or you may not get friends, but you're saved, as we discussed earlier, that the remedy is within the melody. So just this realization that La ilaha illa anta is what actually saves you.
Yeah. And like practically, it might sound, since this word is being heard a lot from especially religious context, like La ilaha illa. Of course, I mean, none of us in here is really attributing anybody godly qualities, astaghfirullah, we would say, right? But if I start to, like, we can imagine your child, since we see a lot of children being killed nowadays, we can sense the feeling. People are being sad after the child is dead, right? Why am I being upset? I need to question this. Or let's say, since there are a lot of young people here, your future spouse, why do you love that person? Are you attributing whatever you love at that person to the person itself, or do you see it as a gift of the Creator, or not even a gift, a reflection that's being given and can be taken at any moment? Do you see it as such, or do you see it that it belongs to that person? So these are where those practical things are really coming into our lives. So that sentence is a sentence that a prophet says. This is 100% more possible or even factual in our lives. I need to double check. Do I say Allah to things other than Allah? Of course, we never verbally do that, but I start worshiping things, as actually you were suggesting to brought up this verse as well. But loving things like loving God. Quran is mentioning this statement, saying that they love things as loving God. So this is what it means to giving God the attributes to things. Otherwise, it's not going to be, oh, theologically, yes, I make the argument and I'm 100% sure La ilaha illallah. Or is it like you will never hear that word coming out of my mouth, or this is God? No, I would never say that, right? But in practice, if I start loving things as such, this is how it shows itself. And a litmus test for this one is when it got separated, how much do I scream? From inside or from outside? So these are the tests that we need to honestly question ourselves. Okay, when you talk to somebody else, you can say that I am a believer, fine. But deep inside, I need to have this personal questioning when I am at the stomach of a whale under a stormy water, stormy sea, which is our condition. I have to go through that questioning.
So on the flip side, if I read this as, even when I am surrounded by a group of people, or so this is Bitcoin, for the sake of example, I do have 35 friends, but I'm very secure in my friends. So, and because that in itself is a denial of La ilaha illa anta. So should I at least still see that as being, even though I might not realize it, my calamity is no different from a person who's absolutely alone, because the problem inherently in there is the same as the denial of La ilaha illa anta.
Exactly. Actually, in your experience, you will also realize this. Like if you rely on some Abdurrahman, let's say you have a friend Abdurrahman and he comes every Friday and washes the dishes, right? Next week, he will come up with an excuse and not come to discussion. And it happens a lot. I don't know if it's something wrong with the name Abdurrahman, but it's mercy of the Creator to say that if you rely on someone, it sounds very random, a random reason. Maybe, the car, let me see if the brother is here. Okay, no, he's not. Okay, I'm going to name him. I have Nibras. So my Nibras is a person who was the most consistent person that's attending the discussions. Okay. So was it 2014 or 15? We were going to go to a retreat. And Nibras said, I'm coming. Another brother said, I'm coming. So I'm saying automatically Nibras comes, of course. Like if he says he will, he will.
I mean, no doubt. The other brother I was reluctant came, but Nibras didn't come. Likewise, last night as we were discussing, it's not backbiting, inshallah. So we haven't been seeing Nibras for years. Last night after the discussion, he was online. He said, I am coming tomorrow. I rented the car and I am coming. Today in the morning, he texted me. I rented the car. I started coming towards there, and then there had been a mechanical issue with the car.
Was he virtually with us?
He was in the first two sessions. So then he said, they gave me a replacement car, but by the time I arrived to Philly, the retreat would already be over. So whomever you rely on, the creator says, are you taking it personal? So let me give you a lesson. So this very beautifully happens, actually. The creator, and this is really showing that this life is to educate us. Friendships or fights, successes, failures, death, life. It's all to say that lift your head. You're getting stuck with the bubbles. Lift your head and look at the sun. Where is it coming from? The creator is trying to tell me a message with the whole existence itself. So, and it is this river with that flowing river of time is saying that I am hand carving a message for you, Yusuf, specifically, another message for you, Zarar. Your messages sometimes intersect with each other, and then the roads depart, but very beautifully. So, and then I say, Alhamdulillah, I couldn't imagine writing such a beautiful student-specific curriculum per person. So this is, once you realize this, then you sense, oh, how nice the teacher is. Because like in my classroom, if a few students, he is not here, he was here in the morning. So he came to my office hours, and then after once he said, well, you know what, in the first lecture, you talked to me with my name for twice. And that was such an honor. Because I met him once before he took the class, and I remember his name. Just naming him with his name was such an honor for that student. Because there are 40 other students, and he remembered my name. My creator is carving out a Yusuf-specific curriculum for me. So, Inna Atayna Kal Kawthar, saying that to you I have given this eternal river. And to you as well, Zarar. But every single one of us, it's being given specifically. What sort of a loneliness is there? If I realize this, because the students that I name them with their names, I am realizing that they're being more engaged with the class actually in practice, because now they are taking it personal. The student professor knows me, knows about my needs, where I am failing, where I'm going to be successful. They are showing up in office hours more, and then they are putting more effort for the class as well, because they are not seeing teacher as an enemy. They are not seeing the class as random. They are saying that, no, this guy is taking our feedback serious. He's trying to push us towards success, not towards some abyss. So if I befriend the creator, do not become enemy of the creator. Meaning, if a student sees the teacher as a friend rather than an enemy, student success changes a lot. The class is no matter how hard or challenging the class is, it becomes a joy. So life, my loneliness disappears because the teacher, Rab, the creator, becomes my friend.
So just to summarize what you just said, and it will lead us to another verse that we're going to study. So you said that now for my needs, I start relying on my creator. And even if like these creation, like in the example that Birkan gave, I don't have those relationships, I can still rely on my creator. So let's take a look at the verse from the Prophet's example and then relate it to ourselves. So
we'll do that, but there were one question that we owe to Kadir. Kadir, we still owe you. Very good. Okay. So,
okay.
He's used to be ignored.
Okay. And okay. What do you think?
Yeah, you can take your question. Or we can take your question.
Can we go to the beginning of the
Poster?
Yeah. So when the Prophet, when it's saying that we saved from distress, this concept of saving mankind, humans from distress, I had it stuck in my mind. I can't stop thinking about it. فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ. So this thing that we're sacrificing, that we're cutting off, if it's something that's detracting from our ability to attribute things to the creator, to the source of all things, and we cut it off. Keeping it cut off and viewing it as an enemy, meaning viewing anything that is a detracting from this ability to attribute things to the creator is your enemy. So if you refrain from that, then this is keeping you from a lot of distress. I'm just thinking about, is this a way of thinking about it? You can comment on that further.
Yeah,
'Cause I've been struggling with this ayah.
And actually, it's beautiful in this sense, because if we go with Ibrahim alayhi salam's case, his son, whom he wanted, is given to him and is now becoming a, if you like, obstacle. Because now, if I do not see the son as a reflection of my creator, it becomes an alternative creator in my world. And it becomes an obstacle between me and my creator. So now creator says, sacrifice him. He attempts sacrificing. And that is the point. Are you convinced to sacrifice the son? Once he sacrifices, then the creator says, okay, you passed the trial. Because in Quranic language, trial means education. It's not like some teachers try to ask hard questions so that you fail, right? No, it is to teach you. Once he does this, he attempts doing it. He says, okay, you got the point. Here is an alternative sacrifice for you. Son stays with you. Son then becomes a true friend who becomes a mirror of the creator. So the same thing which was supposed to become his enemy, his son, because now the son itself is blocking him to get to know the creator. The same son, because of this act of sacrifice, saying that, yes, you're right, my creator, I'm messing it up. I start seeing my child as the source of cuteness, or the source of, oh, he's a smart son, he's my blood, he took it from my DNA, like this sort of things that we keep, nonsense things we keep saying, right? If I can sacrifice this, then the son becomes, oh, this is the creation of merciful, this is the creation of all wise, and all those names then follow.
You can read these 4 words and get 10 meanings after coming back to it.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
So just a follow-up question there. So even though now that you do realize that, or maybe you don't realize, but that this thing is becoming an obstacle between you and your creator. So now from, at least when you're thinking about it logically, and this whole world exists in your mind, it seems very logical, and it's something that you should be hurrying towards sacrificing, right? Like you should want to do this, but I don't think that's always the case. And it is a big trial, actually, like to sacrifice something that is so close to you.
Yeah.
So what actually I'm trying to understand is, what is wrong with our worldview, practically speaking? Like intellectually it does make sense and that's fine, but that doesn't always translate over to our lives. Like it will still hold over close, whatever. Like for example, let's just say I have this huge love for a sport in my heart, and that is a big obstacle in my life, right? And I still hold it very close to me, and I'm not going to sacrifice it, even though sacrificing it to me makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So at the core, what is it that we are sacrificing really? Because sacrificing son means what? You're not really killing. It's not the blood of the son that's being sacrificed over there. What is being sacrificed in there is, it is my son. I own it. And this ownership is the actual obstacle. It's not my son which is the obstacle. The image or the reflection of my son over me is, why do I value son? Because I think it is mine. It's part of me and it's beautiful, which means I am beautiful. Actually, all the 3 topics that's discussed today is a single topic. It all boils down to value. Because I think I am valuable because I have a, you see, I have a smart son. It's smart means he took it from me. I am smart. I am valuable, right? This is the chain of things. And I am attributing this quality to myself. Like that source of knowledge, source of wisdom, it's me. This is being the idea. Sacrifice is really happening in there. Look, Yusuf, you are dying. Because even if, let's say, muscle man, so he is strong, but he gets a small virus. The creator says, are you the strong man? Lift your hand now. He cannot lift his hand. Or let's say you are, it happens, like you are super sharp, super smart and whatnot, but you are tired. You cannot even pay attention. You cannot even focus. If that was your property, like you were sharp, keep being sharp. No, it's being taken away from you. So the real sacrifice is to say that I don't own any of these actually.
if I can say that La ilaha illa ant means this, because I attribute this quality to myself first and foremost. If I do this for myself, then I go ahead and say, oh, also I am wise, therefore Zahra is also wise. And then the creator keeps slapping me saying, is he really? Let me take him away. Or let me make his intellect an enemy of you. And then you do some trickery to me. And I say, oof, he also. But this keeps happening again and again in life. This is why nobody is like perfectly satisfied. And this would happen a lot, like since we have young people here, in marriages. Marriage is a ground for that. As if, like when we were small children, we used to put a small box, put some grains in there, put a stick, hide somewhere, and when the bird comes, we were trying to. The creator is putting some joy within marriage, and then you get in there and he cages you. Right? So marriage is a beautiful ground for our education. You get there for certain nice pinkish feelings and whatnot. You get in there, and now this is this very close human companion where I am supposed to get to know my creator. If I start taking it personal, creator will keep slapping me from there. This is why there are going to be a lot of family fights and whatnot. These are beautiful occasions. Rather than trying to point the finger on the other person saying that it's all because of you, I should say my creator is creating this. What does my creator tell me? Yet it might be really that the other person is doing something wrong. But it's always 50-50, at least 50-50, if not more. I did something wrong, but deep inside, what is it that is wrong? I start attributing some qualities to me. I say, I am, let's say, the giver. I kept giving, and look, she's not reciprocating. What is it that you are giving? Did you own anything in the first place, and now you are giving and waiting response? It's good that she didn't reciprocate because it was a wake-up call. Did you give anything really? You didn't own anything to give in the first place. So, in fact, I mean, she might be wrong, not reciprocating, but the creator is utilizing her to give you a lesson, give me a lesson. So, alhamdulillah, it's beautiful. So, as going back to Birkan's question, your wife is your best companion, or at least right there, and you have 2 kids as well. So, the creator is, by putting these, like, if you like, inevitable attraction for human to go towards that direction, is already creating you friends. But how to befriend them properly? In order to befriend them, I first befriend my creator. So, and befriending my creator is reaching that realization that I don't own anything. Nothing owns anything. None of the things own any of those qualities, but they are just mirrors of the creator. This plant is not growing. Because when we say plant grows, as if it's a thing that it does, right? Or we say it rains, as if it just happens by itself. This language really makes us think that things happen by themselves, or they have those qualities themselves. Or I say, oh, my son has blue eyes or something. Oh, it's because of DNA and whatnot. This is a huge problem. This is where everything is stemming from. So start fixing it from there, then loneliness will disappear. Because this existential loneliness will get replaced with existential togetherness with the creator. I'm going to feel the presence of the creator. And Quran is saying that we are closer to human than his jugular vein. This is not exaggeration. But do I sense it? I can intellectually understand that. But do I sense it? So that is the befriending that I need to do. Then human friends will become proper friends as well. Otherwise, let them be Muslim friends. I'm going to be in the mosque, and the most fierce fights happen in certain mosques. I'm not going to say. So doesn't make, I mean, it's not only a matter of cultural identity. I don't know. It might be that you're going to even get on well versed with your own nationals. So all these becomes a lie.
And then I think that's incredibly beautiful, because when you tie this, again, the sacrifice, it's not about the thing that you're sacrificing. It's about it's supposed to teach me something. So the Quran, I think, when talking about sacrifice, deals with this very beautiful and says, it is not the blood and the flesh that reaches the creator, but it is your taqwa. And then what is this taqwa? It is like being conscious of your creator. And then as Yusuf just mentioned, it is about sacrificing this I, or like attributing it to myself when I am conscious of my creator.
And we have 3 minutes.
I think we can like open the floor to any questions before.
Yes, now we can ask.
Jazakallah khair. This was so beautiful, and it made me realize that the ayah in the Quran, remarkable ayah, I think. I mean, you guys kind of didn't take it that far. Like, you didn't openly say that the enemy that is cut off, like the enemy can be, a family member. But the Quran actually, I mean, in kind of remarkable language says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu inna min azwajikum wa awladikum aduwwan lakum. In your azwaj and your awlad are your enemies, right? Or I mean, one can get the men is also very interesting. Like, from them, like, it could be from some aspect of them. Of course, in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, some of the people's, like, their families were actually enemies on the battlefield. But it could also mean that, perhaps some personality aspect of them can be an enemy, or perhaps, too much love for them can also be an enemy, which needs to be cut off. So thank you so much for helping me kind of make that connection.
Now let's end it at that moment.
So there was just one more verse, if you would like to go with that. So
So
we didn't discuss them, but as a reference, let's just put them. So
this one.
uh
You want to go to this one?
So, like, this was one of the verses that came in the previous, I guess it was the first session. So, when people said to them, behold, a host has gathered around you and you should fear them, it only increased their faith. And they answered, Allah is sufficient for us, and what an excellent guardian he is. So this loneliness is being, or Quran is suggesting, togetherness of the creator, guardianness of the creator as the remedy for this loneliness, which we discussed about the existential loneliness versus existential togetherness. So if you would like to take a keyword for that, because keywords are good to remember. So this is Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil, which is a common word that is culturally we repeat a lot, but this is where it is tying back to. So Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil. Next time when I say this, I should say that, no, I am only getting attached to my creator. I will only sense his togetherness. All other togetherness are bound to die and are dying. So this another one. Another verse was, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ista'inu bis-sabr was-salah inna Allaha ma'as-sabirin. Also, there's this aspect of patience, because you will go through things in life, and it will take time reaching realizations and whatnot, but seeking for help through patience and prayer. And think about prayer as was taught in Surah Al-Kawthar. Prayer is how I talk back to my creator. Prayer is how I am reciprocating or cultivating friendship with my creator. So if I am suffering from loneliness, prayer is a very practical solution for my loneliness. So let's conclude with that, inshallah.
سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت الحليم الحكيم وآخر الدعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين الفاتحة.
Nibras is here.
Okay, Mac.